Hello, and welcome to The Way of Things. My name is Ivo Miach. Today, I'm going to join Carlos Gallinger, and he's going to take me on a special journey. We're in the Southern California desert. We're at Agua Caliente County Park, which is within Borrego Desert. We're going to try to locate the desert bighorn sheep. So join Carlos and I as he takes us on a journey to discover the way of the bighorn sheep.
Well, Evo, looks like we've got our first clue here, and that's some sheep droppings. Now, this looks like probably this year's lamb, maybe about a month old. Now, when the sheep first put this out on a day like this, it'll go dry in minutes, completely dry. The sheep don't waste water much when they go to the bathroom, as it were. And so it's one of the things that sometimes a fresh dropping looks pretty old. But this is a little older, and it is a young animal. And so it's got a certain kind of shape that we know it's sheep, or at least we can be about 80% correct on that. It's got a dimple on the one side, and it's a little pointy on the other. Deer tend to be a little more rounded, and a rabbit tends to be kind of like a plain M&M. They're a little different. Some people confuse these animals' droppings, but this is one of the ways you can tell. The texture is, of course, the texture of fine grained chewed grasses and plant matter. And the color varies quite a bit. It is usually kind of a chocolate brown. Sometimes it's a lighter color, a very tan color. And then as it weathers, we actually have an example of that here. This is a much older dropping. And you can see it's white, and that's very common. And this might be a year or two old. Out here in the desert, there tends to be kind of a mummification process. Sometimes these droppings can last a long time. Well, what we have here is a bedding site. Now that's this clearing here. And sometimes these things are actually dug out and concaved. And some bedding sites are used over and over again, sometimes for thousands of years. This one is probably a fairly casual one. It's in a lot of good escape terrain, so the sheep are pretty happy here. They're bedding wherever they want to, more or less here. In other places, they'll bed in a very specific place over and over again. Now, one of the ways you can tell that is by the way the rocks are cleared out, because the sheep will use their feet and kick the bigger rocks out, even little stuff like this, and make a little bed and lay down in it for an hour or two. And another way you can kind of tell whether a bedding site is or isn't is, of course, droppings. These animals produce droppings about every 20 or 30 minutes for their entire life. If an animal lays here for an hour or two, it's likely that he'll make pellets twice or three times while laying here. And sometimes you'll find a place where there are 8 or 10 beds, or sometimes 40 or 50 or 100 beds in one of these better sites. And of course, it'll be littered with droppings. And from that, you can learn a lot of things. What the sheep are doing, how they behave in the environment, whether they value this bedding site a lot or very little, and how much they've used it by how much the beds, if they've been freshly kicked out, how old the droppings are. Some of these bedding sites might be a winter bedding site where it's warm, protected out of the wind, and other bedding sites are just the opposite. They'll be in shade, and they're ducking the heat. And so you'll find these bedding sites, and they're just a clue to the animal's behavior and what's going on in the environment, sometimes for miles around. So it's always good to understand any bedding sites that you do find. So we've got sheep here, we're in sheep country, and we need to be a little more cautious now.
to fade one part into another. She's, yeah, she's just hanging out. That's cool.
Years old. Ewes are harder to age.
Yeah. Oh, this looks like she's smelling.
She might be rude.
What is that? Did I see? There's one right behind her. Yes.
You see another?
Yeah, right behind her.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're getting up. The one behind her just got up.
Just stand up or something?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So right now. Yeah. I saw something behind her head and I thought, that looks like a bobcat's face. And now it's laying down again. It's behind her. I'm in Borrego Palm Canyon, and I took the alternate trail to head back. I came to an area that has a lot of large boulders, so of course that piqued my interest. And I thought I'd have a look around. And the first thing I saw were droppings, followed by their hoof prints all over the place here. See their hoof prints right in the ground here. They're just all over. And I heard from some people earlier that they had seen bighorn sheep on this side of the canyon, so that makes a whole lot of sense. Traces of bighorn sheep. Classic, look at that. And you can see the terrain. We've got a great view going down canyon. And from what I could tell, they would have what looks like to be a great line of escape in case they needed to. Wow, that was an incredible journey that I had with Carlos, tracking and seeing desert bighorn sheep. So what I learned from Carlos is if we bridge the ancient wisdom with the modern technology, we can experience nature on a much more personal and an interpersonal relationship. What was amazing was that we had this interplay relationship with the first female ewe, that we weren't a threat to it. So that ewe did not communicate any threatening behavior or body language to the other female that was just behind her. It is with our hope that you take the knowledge and information that we have learned and employed today, and you take it on your own. That when you're out hiking, that you can use these techniques and knowledge that will help bridge the gap so you can have a very positive and enriching experience with the wildlife that's around you. Carlos and I want to thank you for joining us on our journey today. If you want to find out more about Carlos Gallinger, please go to thewayofthings.org, or if you want to go to my YouTube channel, simply type in Indigenous Pathways. Thanks for watching The Way of the Desert Bighorn Sheep.